a thumbs up when we go live.
We are live.
Well, welcome to All Sides of Kennebec. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
This is Jeremy.
And today we are interviewing the PWA crew. We have Nick Blanchard in the studio, and I will let him introduce his friend.
Hey, this is Dennis.
Hello, hello.
So welcome to All Sides Kennebec, guys. I see there has been a little bit of talk on social media lately, and you guys seem to be planning a protest coming up, and I was a little curious about it. So you reached out to me, and I asked you about it, so I decided to invite you on to discuss it. So let's dive right into this and let us know a little bit about PWA and what it is you're up to moving forward.
So Friday, we will be outside of the Civic Center for the main GOP conference. Susan Collins will be one of the headline speakers at 2 o'clock, and we plan on being there to protest her, especially for the main reason why is the Supreme Court Justice nominee that she just voted for. She was the first Republican, even before, Mitt Romney, which is really surprising to come out and say that she'd confirm her. And
I do know that there are some conservative Republicans that are a little upset with her pick. Let's a little bit more before we start diving into a little bit more of this. What is PWA? This is one common question that I get asked here in Waterville. What is PWA?
Patriots with Attitude is the name. It's a little offensive, the name, but we're really just a group of men and women, mostly moms and dads, who are patriots that want to see conservative values brought back into our government. We stand up for the kids. We go to school board meetings and let people know how we feel about the masks. We throw protests every chance we get to let the rhinos in the Republican Party to know where we stand, and we're just trying to get people to start keeping them accountable. That's our definition.
That's good to know because there is a lot of misconceptions on what PWA is. So I definitely thank you for letting me know a little bit more about that. But so let's dive in. So you guys are planning this protest that's coming up here in Augusta. It's the convention for the main GOP. Is that what's it's the main GOP convention. So what time is the GOP convention? Do you guys know?
Starts at 11:30.
Okay.
She speaks at, I believe, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, so you guys are just planning on showing up all day, or
All day.
all day? So
People know.
We want to try to catch her walking in.
Yeah, well, I'd like to just get the word out. There's going to be a lot of other Republicans there from the state, throughout the state, that are going to come down and hear her talk. And, maybe we could shake hands and talk to some other people that aren't pleased with what's been going on with the Republican Party as of late. A lot of us really think that we need people representing Maine's GOP that are going to vote with the Maine GOP.
I definitely have seen a little bit of change with Republicans here in Maine over the last couple of years. But there definitely seems to be a little bit of an uptick with her nomination pick for Supreme Court. And that was Ketanji Brown Jackson. She, like you guys were saying before we backpedaled a little bit, she was the first Republican pick to pick that nominee, correct?
Yeah, Susan Collins was, yep.
Okay, and then I believe the second pick was Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney, and
Mitt
then
Romney.
The rest of the
I'm horrible with
rhinos.
names.
then the other one from Alaska, Murkowski.
Yep.
Okay.
It was those three.
Okay,
Guess
so
it made it a little easy. It made it easier for the Democrats to get her passed, and nominated into the next seat that's going to be
Yeah,
available.
because they only need the majority now.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was really a way of kind of making it say it was a bipartisanship that, both parties kind of agreed with it, having five
Yeah.
five Republicans?
Nah, maybe, I'm not sure. I know
It was
at
5 or
least
7.
three.
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check.
I'm not.
But,
I think the total was 5.
I think you might be right. But so you guys were definitely a little upset with the pick, of course, and one of the main reasons is because of a
Her
lot of,
leniency on pedophiles.
that seems to be one big thing that was brought up during a lot of the confirmation hearings.
A lot of the confirmation hearing was different representatives. Jim Jordan, a lot of them just went and explained to everybody that she had 8 or 9 cases before. Every one of them had been for child pornography, and she gave less than the mandatory minimum that was allotted from the federal government's guidelines, and not low. I mean, extremely low. Someone had gotten caught with 6,000 gross graphic pictures of children getting raped,
Wow.
and she gave him 3 months in jail.
Yeah, it was
3 months?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
I
an
didn't-
18-year-old. What was an 18-year-old kid?
No,
and
that was the other one. She gave him 3 months probation.
3 months probation. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like and her excuse to that was that there's more pictures out there on the internet now, so we should
That-
lessen the charge.
Yeah, so the way that I understood it was the way that it was looked at was because it can all be achieved within seconds because of the click of a mouse. Was the reasoning for this?
Yeah.
I believe, from what I gathered with what was put on the news.
I think the
So-
punishment should fit the crime. I think if more of these pedophiles, from Epstein all the way back to Clinton, all of them, if they get
Well-
locked up and not have to keep allowing, if we get lenient at a federal level
Right.
with pedophilia, then they're going to let, MAP, whatever they call this MAP, minor attracted peoples, and all this other stuff come out. You know what I mean? It's just like
Needs
the
to
stuff
be a
that's going on.
deterrent for that.
Yeah, there needs to be a deterrent for that. We got to protect our children, and that's why PWA, we stand up for the kids. It's not us. I'm not going to be around. I'm 48 years old. I'm not going to be around forever, but my son's going to be around. All my kids are going to be around later on, hopefully. And I'm trying to leave a better place for them to go to school, to not be groomed by different big, stuff that's going on in Florida. There's a lot of bad stuff going on here in this country.
And I do agree with you. There is some things that I definitely disagree with, and so I do see where you're coming from. Moving along, one thing I find really odd with Susan Collins is I really respect her Kavanaugh pick because at the time I was really involved with the main GOP here, and I was definitely happy when she picked what the main GOP wanted.
Well, let's also be reminded too that she was in an election year, and she was also trying to get Trump's endorsement.
Now,
And I'm not. It wasn't a good pick anyway. Brett Kavanaugh, executive overreach.
You think so?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. He applauded everything that Bush was doing. He was Bush's
But, yeah,
attorney,
This is
essentially.
this is
Yeah,
true.
pretty much.
This
the
is
guy
true.
that wrote and signed the Patriot Act.
No, yeah, you're right, and then we've seen where the Patriot Act has brought us
It-
today.
it's
It's making
gross
Americans
negligence on
terrorists
the-
since 2001.
Right, it's gross negligence on the Constitution.
Why is it always the same players in every conversation? You should always ask yourself that.
Yeah, I mean,
follow
that's
the money.
Well,
Republicans,
that's
Democrats.
No,
it's-
exactly.
That's why I'm libertarian,
It-
which there isn't much of
Well,
us, but
That's exactly why the two-party system is one of the biggest problems with our country right now.
yep, I agree.
I definitely agree that there needs to be some more level playing field when it comes to the parties, for sure.
Not even level playing field. I just want
Well,
more playing field.
Why not get
more
rid of
players?
why not get rid of the parties? Period. Why not just let a person run on what they believe in? And why do they have to clarify whether or not they're a Republican or they're a Democrat? Let this person just run on what their values are.
Yeah.
Well,
You
they
know
should
what
do
I'm
it like
saying?
NASCAR and have people, have all their sponsors all over.
right,
the track.
Right,
yeah,
When they show up, Pfizer shows up behind them.
right. At least you know who you're betting
You
on.
have
at
least
that
you know-
point.
at least you know where
Merrick
the
on
money's
your,
at.
your shirt and Pfizer and
And one big active thing that me and Jeremy have been pushing is following the financing in these races, because ultimately that's kind of a way that you could make a roadmap of what could potentially happen on the coming up election year.
unfortunately, it's significantly easier at the state level than it is at the federal level.
Of course, of course. I mean, like today, this is an exception show. Usually we try to stick towards
Localized.
more local stuff. So like I said, this is an exception show only because this is our.
Well, no, this
Well,
is
it's the main
local.
local.
GOP,
Right.
so it's still pretty local. It's right in Augusta.
That's
but-
my point, but with her being a
Well,
U.S.
right, she's
senator,
federal, yeah.
so
She's someone that needs to be replaced. Someone needs to be like.
Don't blame me. I voted for Max Lynn.
I
Not that he
I
would've been any
voted.
better, but-
I voted for Susan Collins, and the reason that I did is because at the time,
Who do we have?
Sarah Gideon was
yes.
going against
Yeah, it
her.
was
Yeah.
Sarah
I mean-
Gideon, Max Lynn, Lisa Savage.
there was a bunch of independents that tried to run, but
Well,
COVID.
Lisa Savage.
COVID ended up, I believe, I want to say at least it knocked. We'll talk about this a little more later on tonight, but COVID knocked some of those independent
Well, that's
signature gatherers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it was about a month. Like they lost a month's worth of being able to gather
Well, I mean,
signatures.
look at the money that poured in here for Gideon. Look at the money that poured in here for Collins. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You
Well,
look
we
at people-
also
There's
had
dark money all the way around.
well, we also
all the
had
way
the repeal RCV ranked choice voting at the time too. So there was a lot going on at that time. So, but yeah, so I was a Susan Collins person because she voted for Kavanaugh. That's why. But Nick,
That's why I
brings-
didn't vote for her.
I was working in the GOP, and like I said, it was the pick. So that's. I like
Party guy.
Kavanaugh. I am a party guy. It could be one of my faults, but I do stick more towards the constitutional stuff. I like to
Which
consider
makes me wonder why you're a party guy.
these
I'm just-
these
razzing.
last couple years have been a little
I'm
strange
just razzing
for
you,
me.
but-
No, you're fine, man.
I was a
But- but
Republican, back in 2015 when it was cool.
I loved working in the main GOP. It was fun. It was great while Trump was in office.
Can I-
Like we had a blast. We were all over the state rallying everywhere.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
it was just so much fun. And then it just, I don't want to get into it, but it bombed out and it was bad. And the divides that have been drawn up. I mean, I don't want to I can't get into too much detail.
You know what?
on
You know what a lot of
because-
it is. You know what a lot of it is people have woken up to.
Well, that's what it is.
They gave us a year to sit home after the pandemic started,
Mm-hmm.
for us to sit home and like me, I started breaking apart the parties and looking at that, with the deep state, the cabals, the swamp per se,
Yeah.
and really looking at there is a group of elites that have been dark money and
Yeah.
controlling everybody for a long time.
Well,
And
it's
they're
like
both
when you
part of
Both
the
parties.
same party.
Yeah.
when you look at stocks.
Left
I
wing,
mean,
right wing, still the same bird.
Yep.
look at like the four top stockholders in the U.S. It's usually like the four usually the four of the same companies. So
Yeah.
all you gotta do is Google it. So.
Yeah, well, if you look at look
But-
at the money that pours in,
Exactly.
BlackRock,
Is one of them.
Vanguard.
Nick
Nick
keeps
the
saying he
big
wants to
guys.
say
Well, no.
he looks like he wants to say something.
It was something else, but now that we're talking about this, I do, because it is a hot issue with, we're talking about money pouring into stuff. What is everyone's opinion on Elon Musk right now?
I'm so
Can't
excited
talk
for
about
Twitter.
All right, this is I am excited because
Now, remember, this
We-
is the same guy that wanted to put a microchip in you.
He still does.
see okay so
So everyone's jumping on and, calling
No.
this guy a
Well, see-
savior
see,
to
that-
free
no, well-
speech.
well,
but
hear me
it's
out,
the
hear me
same
out,
guy
hear
that
me
wants
out.
to put a
I'll hear
microchip
something.
in
you,
you.
you got to hear me out. So I definitely agree with the freedom of speech. So I'm all for that. But this is where I get a little hesitant because if you remember a while back, it wasn't even that far back.
2017.
I don't even want to say that far back.
forever ago.
I'd have to. But anyways, my point is
When you
is
had freedom.
Bill Gates was going to meet Elon. He was on his plane and he landed. Well, apparently, it had something to do with I want to say it was the New York Times or something like that. Like messaged Elon about these messages that leaked out, and he said it was like a friend of a friend or something. Must have been how it leaked
Yeah,
out or
I know
something
you're
like
talking
that.
about where he asked him about the stock, if he had
Yes.
stock.
Short of
The
stock.
shorted the stock, and he said, "Oh, I haven't had time to cash that out," or something along those lines. And Elon said, "Kick it." So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, but here's my point. Now, if you want to talk about these these four names that show up and stuff like that we're looking at, they are. I just lost my train of thought. What was I just saying? Jeez, I always do
The
this
four
too.
names that we're looking at.
Okay, so before that, back up a little bit. See.
Talking about Elon Musk.
Okay, so yes, thank you. Geez, see, I always lose my train of thought.
I got to
See?
restart him a little
Thank
bit.
you. But
It's like
yeah,
pushing the
so,
reboot button.
Right.
He has
yeah,
the microchip already.
Right, I know. But yeah,
That's
so
Elon Musk
so I
pushing
liked
the stop button.
I liked that he told Bill Gates to pretty much kick it. So that was cool. But here's my thing. So
government needs to
we start talking about those four names that come up. Now here's my thing. How do we know this isn't a ploy to, let's create a problem and then let's deliver the solution? How do we know it's not the same people? How do we know these people aren't getting together behind the scenes?
His form of philanthropy, like he's giving
That's what he said.
back to people. So later on, people are going to trust him with the mess that he's
Right.
concocted in his little
because
villain mind.
This is like where my younger days of being like a hip hop kid come in from, like the Tupac and Biggie's.
Yeah.
Like, a little bit of that was created on purpose to make money. That's
of course.
That's what some people don't understand.
Yeah.
So, it makes me wonder if, could this be a conspiracy theory I'm getting on here? So I don't know, but
Hey, no,
Maybe,
no,
but
hey,
Twitter
us
can't
be
any
us
worse.
conspiracy
That would
theorists
be-
are 40-0. So
that
you
would
call
be-
me conspiracy theorists.
Hey.
all you want.
well, I guess I don't want to call it a conspiracy. That would be my only concern.
Like Don Jr. says, the only difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 7 months.
Pretty much.
No, but what I was going to say earlier is when we were talking about, more local and stuff like that. The one thing I do like when it comes to elections, and the thing that Maine does do that I wouldn't mind seeing other states do, is how they split the electoral votes.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
love how Maine does that. There's only one other
two
state.
and then two.
I think it's what other state is it? that does-
Nevada,
I
I
think.
believe.
Because if you look at it, look at New York, look at California,
The
look at-
purple. That's
Yeah.
it. The purple. It's the line.
But
the
if you
purple
look at all
line.
these other states, and
Reminds me
you-
of Waterville.
You look at the outer counties, they're all red, and then you see where the main city is, where it's populated, and then
Right,
you
that's
know,
blue.
and that's blue, and then that city literally is the voice for the whole state, and that's why New York turned into a crap hole.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, New York's so bad.
is
right
because you got one city, pretty much the whole voice of the state. So I wouldn't mind.
Well,
seeing,
New York has definitely seen an uptick in some crime statistics for sure.
Oh my God!
I know
600% in
yeah.
violent crime this year. It's
that's
just pathetic.
My buddy Larry Sharp is running for governor from New York. So if anyone's listening that's
Right
in
on.
New York, make sure you go vote for him in November.
hey,
He's a
look at that.
libertarian.
Definitely. So
This upcoming election thing is going to be very interesting.
I definitely think so.
red wave, giant red wave.
I hope so.
I believe.
I
so.
think
in a lot
so.
of
I
aspects.
think so because there seems to be a big shift, and with what's happening with Twitter. So I'm
Well, I
starting.
heard-
I'm starting to
And
see.
the
it.
only reason why I said red wave, and I'm go back to it, is because we're on a two-party system. If we
Right.
had another, and if we were off this two-party system, and we were able to have a third person, you might be able to see
Yeah.
something. But
I
another,
always said- I
you're
always
not
thought
going to
we
see
should
the,
have the
you're not going to
Patriot
see Ron
Party.
DeSantis run against
Well, no,
Trump.
see,
no one's going to run
this
against
is
him in
what
the
I think's
Republican
great
Party if he
is-
wants to run.
Is we're starting to see a lot more of the conservatives stand up too. The more
Oh,
the
dude,
middle
the
of the aisle.
conservatives are
Well,
like
a
stacked.
lot of the conservatives for years. Well, I'm 48. Well, a long time ago, that when I was growing up, the Republican Party was the party of the big, wealthy multimillionaires who was trying to get you.
Yeah.
But now,
That's
if
what
you
they
really
made
look
you
at
believe.
it, it's the party of the
Right.
working
That's-
working class.
that's-
That's the
Yeah, they
working ants.
flipped.
It
is-
totally
It
flipped.
is a little weird how that happened.
It's almost like George Soros or something said, "Hey, let's do what we can to fund this other side." You know what I mean? Let's put
Well,
all our dark money over here.
You got to look at you can go back. What was it after they had the CIA hearings about this? About they asked if there was money into media companies and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and the guy said something along the lines, "I'd rather talk in executive session."
Yeah, yeah. Bezos,
So-
and like Bezos was pissed the other day. He's like, "Oh, it's gonna." What did he say? He said Elon's move is probably just to help the Chinese Communist Party, and then he said, "Oh yeah, the one who owns the Washington Post, who has like half of your money's coming from China." He's talking about China
and
influence.
everything off Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
except for the kids.
but
It all boils
so
down to it.
yeah, let's jump back into. So yeah, that was a little weird that she picked Brett Kavanaugh and then has gone to this pick. How and it is a little strange how it seems that you can almost kind of guess what these picks are going to be depending on the political time of year.
The time of the year, yeah.
So now this is where, see,
And that's exactly what we don't want.
this is where why I'm a Susan Collins supporter is because if
Are
we
you still a Susan Collins supporter?
As of right now, yes, because
Oh my
we
God.
I
have
was just checking.
we have no one to replace her. We
Well,
need
now, there-
Well, I mean, there's
whoever's
people who
out there
just can't
listening,
for the-
somebody that has got the balls to stand up against the deep
Rick
state and
Savage.
ready to go up. Let's get somebody for the main GOP that's ready to take over in 2026 because
I think
she
Rick
needs to
Savage should do it.
So whoever's out there that wants to stand up and man up,
But see,
So
you
it's
know,
hard though because
because yeah, it is like
it's because we had Derek that we interviewed
Yep,
him and
yep.
he tried to primary her, but even he came out and said
It's
that they
because
were
the main
threatening
GOP
it.
yeah,
sucks.
the powers to be.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you gotta think- you
they
gotta
won't
think-
give anyone else a choice.
Well, the thing
I mean,
is, the reason of Collins
chance.
and that side of it, if you look at their money, the number one contributors to her, FTX.US, is a cryptocurrency company that started in Hong Kong, China. Is her number one? You know what I mean? She has more out of state money than any other person. You know, I think she even got more out of state money than Sarah Gideon. You know what I mean? And that's all out of state money.
Yeah,
it's
facts.
it's sad when.
But see, here's another thing too. There hasn't been any other senators in the state of Maine that have brought that federal dollar back to Maine like she has.
so it's money over values.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, money over money. So we need to look for someone or find someone or someone's out there that'll step up to that's got the guts to get threatened by the deep state and keep
Like I just
going.
said, anyone here know who Rick Savage is?
I've heard of him.
The guy that owns
The guy that owns the restaurant that-
Sunday River Brewery
Yeah.
that Janet Mills closed his
Oh,
restaurant
okay,
down
yes,
and he
yes,
stood
yes,
up to
yes.
her
Yeah.
and he had to sell it.
Oh, you had to sell
He had to sell it. He had to get rid of the
Yeah,
business.
yeah, 'cause
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't
she
know
wouldn't.
that.
She wouldn't give him back his liquor license.
I remember seeing him. He was on Tucker.
Yeah,
Show,
he
right?
he was
Yeah.
one. Yeah, he was one of the people that stood up during COVID and literally, said screw this. Kept his doors open.
Yeah.
And she took his liquor license, and then he tried to,
I believe he got
Do it.
fined a few times.
he got
too.
a bunch of
Dude,
times.
He got fined a bunch of times.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Oh, I threw a New Year's Eve party for him during COVID and raised a bunch of money for his employees. And
How'd that do?
Oh, we did it. We raised I think $850 one night.
Nice.
What was funny because it was right at the peak of COVID.
Right.
So the CDC found out that we were having this party and actually
course.
contacted the people at the house and said, hey, listen, if you guys have this party here, we're going to arrest the owner of the house.
talking about
Wow.
Mr. Nirav Shah.
Yeah. Oh,
George Soros plant from
Hey, it's
Chicago.
okay. We had a pinata with Nav Shah on one side and Janet Mills on the other.
Oh, God.
And it was filled with Fireball, and it was $5 a hit. And all that money went to the employees
That's awesome.
for Sunday River. But, well, actually, I say all the employees. He actually donated it to one guy. He donated it to a dishwasher that actually needed it. So it was awesome. But so the CDC called them, said, hey, you can't have this here. We're like, screw this. We're still doing it. So what we did is we had one person stay there and let everyone show up there, and we screened the people that showed up. And we're like, all right. And we sent them to the other location. We still had over 100 people. We had fireworks.
Wow.
It was a 2-floor party. We had a DJ. Like I said, we had it was nuts.
Right in
And
the
this
middle
was
of
like
the
right
pandemic.
at the
How dare
peak
you.
of COVID when everyone was afraid to come outside.
And I really think that some people are minimizing the damage that the government has done to
Dude.
just normal everyday lives.
Our children.
I feel bad for when COVID first started and it came to Maine and they had that wedding in Millinocket.
Oh, dude,
yeah,
and they
they
blamed
blamed
all.
They
and-
blamed everyone that got COVID on that wedding, on the people that owned
And that's
the
supposed to be
wedding.
one of the greatest days of your life.
Life.
Yeah,
besides-
just imagine the stress.
Just
of
think about
you-
this, though.
Maybe
The
giving
groups
people
like
COVID.
yourself and the podcast that are actually talking about what's really going on is 11 million views a day for Joe Rogan. Because
Yeah,
people
that's
that
amazing.
Are speaking
It is.
the truth. They want America's hungry for the truth.
Absolutely.
and nobody wants to keep being lied to. We've been lied to for so long, dude. They promise the world and then they don't do nothing when they get there. I
Right,
almost
they,
said
Sounds
they
like the main
promised that
GOP.
we could, if you got the COVID vaccine, you could go back to normal. None of that worked.
no.
People got the COVID
Myocarditis ain't
vaccine
normal.
specifically to go back to normal. I didn't get it, but people got it.
I didn't get
and
the
they
vaccine.
Still
I-
got COVID.
So this is crazy. So during COVID, I went to plenty of rallies. I went to DC on the 6th. I went to 2 Trump rallies during COVID. Never got COVID, right?
Yep.
But I ended up catching it at work. Right? Not vaccinated. My fever got up to 104.5.
Wow.
You guys are talking to someone that took ivermectin from Tractor Supply. Okay.
I took I
Now-
did ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine from a friend.
listen,
Definitely
hold on, let me-
consult your doctor
Yeah,
before you
yes.
go taking
no,
anything.
yeah, definitely-
please. I
definitely
just have
consult-
to put that out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
definitely, yes.
I just
don't
have
wanna
to
get
make
sucked.
that.
Yeah,
make
well,
that
no,
sad.
yeah, no, you don't want to get,
There's a-
I'm not
there's-
encouraging anyone
Right.
to do anything.
There's
That's not
a
what I'm
lot-
saying.
there's
I'm
a
just
lot
saying as
to-
someone that did it. I'm
Right,
just,
yeah,
as
of course.
someone that did it just because,
I understand.
you know,
You know what
So-
was really crazy throughout the whole pandemic, and I sat home and I watched how the mainstream media would spin everything that they were getting.
Yeah, like the whole Joe Rogan thing.
Oh yeah. And they
Yeah,
would
but he
just-
started
they would just
apologizing
spin it
after they did
immediately.
that.
And
That's
the
not-
whole thing about ivermectin, it's been around in human form.
Yeah, it's
Nobel,
400,000
Nobel
people.
Peace
Yeah.
Prize
Yeah.
winning.
winning
But-
drug.
But the people that made it are both dead. They died in 2017. They were murdered. Nobody talks about that. There's a lot of big stuff that happened
I wonder why.
pre-pandemic that nobody's even talking about till to this day. Everybody's like, "Oh, the pandemic's gone," and then today I read the paper. Oh,
see, that's what it is,
seven
man.
more, highest in 7 weeks in Maine, and it's just like,
I read something like that.
Yeah, I read
recently,
about this
it
morning.
being the numbers are getting higher.
yeah. And then when you
testing.
get to the hospital, they were giving people remdesivir. Remdesivir shuts your kidneys down. Kidneys freaking
I was
get
gonna
filled up with.
say, I remember reading something about you. They can only give it like 9 days.
Yeah, 56% of the people that were on remdesivir from the trials were dying because their kidneys shut down. And then what happens when your kidneys shut down? Your lungs fill up with fluid,
Well,
then
see,
they
this
intubate
is
you, and then you die.
also this is also where
Like my friend Joe from Guilford,
because there was another drug that Trump had signed.
hydroxychloroquine.
Yep, and Biden just recently removed
The
that
Quantical, I always say it wrong.
quantical steroids.
No, antibodies.
Anoclonal.
Anoclonal antibodies.
Antibodies. Hey, so it's weird that you say that. So do you know where that comes from?
Yes, I know all about the peptides. So this is
That's all weird.
This this is
I'm not a scientist.
somewhere that I want to go because it would be a whole show on its own.
But
Watch
the whole
water.
thing. Let's bring this back to the
Anyways.
reason why we're here. Susan Collins
yes,
is an amazing person in some aspects. She has brought a lot of money to Maine, BWI. Thank God for them being down there for the men and women that are making stuff happen. You know what I mean?
and this brings us into the next thing too, and I think Republicans that don't want to see Susan go need to start thinking about this too. Susan Collins she's probably going to want to retire soon, I would imagine.
I
5 terms.
She is.
I can foresee this
Listen,
being her last term.
Man, this
listen.
woman has not missed. Like she is always there, man. When she
She's
has to
always
be
there.
when she
The
has
people
to,
that are
she
paying
is
her to be there.
But
Listen,
I
her
mean,
salary is
to say-
$185,000 a year. Her monthly income is $300,000.
it's a lot.
Let's say her net worth.
Her net worth in 2012 was $2,874,000. March 16th of 2020, her net worth is $45 million.
Whoa.
How did you make $43 million in 10 years, Susan?
Now, I will say, I think her family, including herself, owns SW Collins or co-owns
Yeah.
SW Collins, which is a
Hardware
hardware store up north.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
They
no,
sell a lot of
so-
hardware in the last 10 years.
Now,
I was about to say.
There's a lot of
$43
farms.
million in 10 years.
There's a lot of farms.
Is that a way
Now-
to funnel the money?
I don't know how much she makes of that.
Yeah. Well,
Or
I mean,
what-
her monthly income is around $300,000
Yeah.
monthly. We got teachers here in Maine who are making $35,000.
Well, see, this is another discussion that we had too. Is the state of Maine, like legislators here, are some of the lowest paid in the country. So,
But they're really fast at spending our tax money.
oh, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
taking it.
Absolutely.
You're right.
But
And
see,
taking it.
They can
And
burn
they're
it.
giving you
So-
little
so-
checks back, like this little $850 that Janet Mills has given us, during election
So
time.
I can understand where the gripe comes from. Like, I mean, if you see somebody that you're doing the same job,
Well,
So
like
I-
I said,
so
to
I
teachers and
see-
superintendents, I mean,
right.
there's superintendents out towards me that make $176,000 a year to be a superintendent over 2 schools.
I think every
that's-
superintendent in Maine should be
You know what
fired.
I mean? I think a big majority of them.
Not
See,
mine.
That's
No,
what
there are some
we
good
stepped,
ones.
We stepped
were-
up. We've been going to different
few.
school board meetings throughout the state. PWA has.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say you made the paper.
a couple
he
of
made
times.
the paper a couple
About it.
times, and we've done what we do because we didn't feel basically what we did is over in Guilford, we went and talked to them. We said, okay, show us some peer-reviewed science that shows the masks are helping the children for anything. I mean, if you're a 2-year-old, I mean a 4-year-old, and you're going into kindergarten, 5-year-old, and you learn to speak words, how do you learn? You learn by enunciation.
Yes,
watching the
I
person
have-
move their
Watching people
foot,
talk.
watching their people talk.
I have a good friend that works in speech therapy,
And
and
now the
we've had
kids this year are
yes.
like tripled from what it was before because none of the kids got to learn how to enunciate.
I'm
the
trying to
words.
talk him into coming on the show, but he's.
It's all about submission. Look at kids now when you communicate to them. They don't even look you in the eyes anymore. They talk to you like this.
Well, I have three 12-year-old girls. Even before COVID, they sucked at looking at you in the eyes because they're usually always looking down.
Right.
I'm talking about
say.
like young kids now.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's
I
yeah.
mean,
No, I'm
you're
not
talk-
saying there's no change. I mean, there definitely
Oh,
has
there's
been
definitely
a change.
You're talking to
Oh,
a father
mental.
that got banned from his son's daycare.
Well, we
Because
have one of our
he-
members.
he
we
was
have one of
gonna
our
be-
members named Wayne Wofford, who was trespass ordered from Skowhegan from the school board meeting
For speaking out.
for speaking out at a school board meeting, which they lied. We've got it on tape that they lied, just because he's standing up for children, just like Merrick Garland was calling us all
Now,
saying that we're
okay, so
domestic
Terrorists,
terrorists
yeah.
for standing up.
let's get into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I want to try to approach this from a middle ground.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
I like
Just hear me
middle
out.
ground.
Just
That's
hear me
cool.
out. Just hear me out. Do you think that they could have felt maybe there was a little anger coming in towards it, or do you think that
No.
it was a pushback just because they
it
could
was a
do
Wayne
it?
pushback
didn't. Wayne
because
was
they-
never aggressive.
Wayne was he's an Army veteran.
Sir,
He's-
ma'am.
yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Very
Polite,
calm.
Wore the mask
Okay.
when he was asked to. You know
Well,
what
see,
I mean?
these are the things that aren't reported.
Well,
so that's why I'm coming
Yeah.
with this question.
I'm glad you asked that because that's what caused the FBI to show up to my apartment was because of misconception from going to these meetings because, we go to these meetings and now, I wear a body cam. We all, he puts out his video cam and stuff like that. But there's another group that literally takes videos from us and then puts them together and then posts it. And this caused Skowhegan to have 5 police officers and
5 police cars, 11 police officers at a school.
a
11
police
officers.
and they had to wand us to get
the
in.
first day that I come in, they wanded me, and I had a rolled up banner that we had that said "Unmask Our Kids."
Yep.
And they're like, "What's in the banner? And what's in there?" And I was like,
They thought we were going to
message.
show up in body
Well,
armor.
see, we gotta understand though from a perspective that they were probably coming into a situation where they were probably exaggerated a little bit too, maybe.
We've shown up before
No.
and been calm and respectful
the
every
thing,
time.
The thing is, it goes against basically what it is from my understanding. When we were a threat to them, not physically, but because we kept bringing up the fact that, hey, you are getting federal money to
For
do
masking
this,
our
and if
children.
you don't, you're not going to get your federal money. So our biggest stink was, let's put our children's protection first over the money you're going to get.
Right.
the
Because,
mayor of Waterville
you know,
admitted it to us.
Yeah, I mean,
At
yeah.
dinner, remember
At
when
dinner.
he literally said that's the reason why the school board's not going to take the mask off our kids is because they're getting government money.
And then
I was like,
then
why don't you say
the
that
word got
publicly?
around the country. The word got
We've-
around the country within about a month and a half period that there were groups of us getting ready to go after their bonds, which their surety bonds to protect.
We've
over
talked
if they do something
about-
wrong. Well, as soon as
Right.
that, within
Like
3
liability.
weeks, all of a sudden, mask coming off. Everybody's gonna leave. COVID's gone.
We've touched bases on this a little bit on a couple other podcasts about how there are strings attached with
yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, each of them have a bond. Each of them are insured. That's how
Well,
you get.
the thing is, when you're getting money from the federal government for the kids, there's going to be a certain amount that they give to you
per
and-
child.
Right.
It's
per
the per
child.
capita of the
And then
child
they
or
have a certain
whatever.
amount was allotted for a nurse to be at school, an extra nurse, and an extra this,
Oh,
and
yeah.
extra that, and the masks and this, and that if you didn't follow the
Curriculum
It's all part of like the
guidelines.
Recovery Act or something.
Right.
At least
Speak-
for COVID.
speaking of curriculum, one of the other things that we've been looking into quite a bit here in Maine, and is the critical race theory, which a lot of them aren't talking about critical race theory, and they're in the schools. There's another one that's pretty prominent in every curriculum. It's called social emotional learning. If your school is teaching social emotional learning, really look into it because that's critical race theory's ugly sister. It's allowing kids. It's pretty much Marxist Leninist teachings in the long run that doesn't need to be pushed on kids. You know what I mean? So from a dad, I started homeschooling my son because I did not like what I was seeing at the school as far as anything.
That's
You
the
know what I mean?
best thing we could do.
And homeschooling him has been the best thing for me and him this last 2 years because it's like it opened my eyes to how much he really didn't know when he was at the beginning of 4th grade,
Right.
which he should have known. You know, as a father, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to send him to school. My taxes are going to pay this school, whether it be the federal side or the other side, and my property taxes. And they weren't teaching him, nobody left behind stuff where, it doesn't matter if you can read. We're just going to push you through.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to offend somebody. Well, listen, where I grew up, you got offended, but they made you tougher, and you got through it. You
Right.
learned
Thicker
how to.
skin.
You got some thicker skin. You got to
I
learn some
do
grit.
think that kids could be a little.
Well, that's why we have grown adults that need to be in safe spaces now. It's because and they get to work and they can't handle,
Oh, yeah,
being
yeah,
in a
yeah.
Look
Well,
at what's happening with Twitter
Social
now.
emotional learning is being
People wanna
taught through
quit.
Coca-Cola's teaching it. Our
Now-
Department of Health and Human Services last year adopted a new SEL program that everybody that works for the Department of Health and Human Services is now taking. You know what I mean? It's like they're
And
trying.
let's be clear too. We don't want to dismiss anybody that has a legitimate depression issue. or
No, no,
something.
no,
Oh, no, it's nothing to do with depression.
No.
Depression exists.
So I don't want
Yeah.
it to come off like we're attacking.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
So-
What I'm saying is that I think us as Americans, the reason we patriots
But no,
with
I
attitudes,
I do
because
agree.
we do stand up to the dirty money, the right money, the money that's sent in by other people that is weakening our country.
That used to be normal, though. You used to be able to have conversations like that without the other side quibbling down and
That's-
having to run away from that conflict.
Yeah.
That's literally what I
that's why
say
all
all
those-
the time.
All the people that just left Twitter, they were talking about it yesterday. They're going to start their own platform. It's going to be called Bitter.
That's one thing I say all the time is the difference that used to separate Republicans and Democrats 15 years ago.
Right.
Was we had the same goals.
Yeah.
What separated us and why we were able to sit down
That's
at
how
a
we
table.
got there.
It was the
exactly is
solutions.
how we got there and
Yeah.
our ways of achieving those goals, and that's why you're able to sit down and have dinner and be friends with the other side.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can't do that
you know
because
why?
we're not trying
Yeah,
to
it's
achieve.
so
It's
tribal.
It's
It's
a
either
this way
military-
or
you have
this
to
way.
pick a
military
side.
strategy. It's called divide and conquer.
Yeah.
You know what
No,
I mean? If they can keep us fighting, they can keep us weak. That's why people they got offended when they first see the name Patriots with Attitudes. And then they look at me and they're like, "You're a big teddy bear." I was like, "Yeah, but I could be a grizzly bear. The choice is yours."
Right.
You know what I mean? It's how you treat us. You treat my kids with respect. I'm going to treat you with respect. You disrespect my child, I'm going to.
Well,
you open the
I
door.
would expect that from any parent.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
So this is what I want to see. I want to see the Department of Education abolished.
it's going to be
I'm
reformed.
with you with
Totally.
It
that.
has to
Yep.
be. And then I want everything for education from every parent down to every student brought down to the most localized level that it can be. Whether or not
Reading,
that's
writing,
Community
local to
homeschooling.
Waterville or community to Oakland, or even if it's like regional with Central Maine or something, so that it's literally all community. And that's who's setting the curriculum, teaching the kids, who's paying the dues, who's paying the money.
I agree 1,000%.
Everything's right there.
Another thing
That's
that
the
I
only
think
way
that
we're
needs-
going to take this country back.
Another thing that
Completely
I
agree.
believe needs to be abolished is our FDA. The Food and Drug have no right to be in the same
well, see,
administration.
this is something
They need
that
to separate
I was reading.
drugs over here, food over here. Food, if you eat correctly and live a healthier lifestyle, you don't need the poison pharmaceuticals that they're trying to
This
push on
this
our
is something I was just reading the other day. Is like packing plants that do meat and stuff. They don't have the money for the inspectors because they've put it all into COVID. So,
You wanna know one thing we
things
need
are
to-
slacking with our food at the quality level.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I mean, and the quality level altogether. If you really get really deep into it, companies like Bayer, who now owns Monsanto, they have been pushing the glyphosate for years. You know what I mean? Roundup, and we know it causes cancer. Well,
Right.
then what did they do? They made a genetically modified version of corn and wheat that doesn't get messed with by any glyphosate. Well, it doesn't mean that your Cheerios, when you take them home, is still not the highest tested
Right.
for glyphosate in the world for poisonous substances. When the company that's holding all your seed in your country and that does all your fertilizer is banned from 140 other countries, there's a reason.
That's why food sovereignty laws are so important.
Yes.
Why do you think
Exactly.
Bill
I agree.
Gates is buying all the farmland?
Yeah, well, he bought 2% of it. He's trying.
Yeah.
There was a thing a while back when Bill Gates said like this. He said, the cow gives off more CO2 than a
Oh, that was
car."
AOC.
So I said, no, it was Bill Gates said that.
Oh,
she
that was
quoting
Bill
him.
Gates?
So I told him, I said, how about this, Bill? You spend the night in the garage with a running car, and I'll spend the night in a garage with 2 cows. And we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'd be doing the world a favor.
But
And we're off YouTube. Just kidding.
it's probably a good thing we're not monetized there. But so it is definitely a back and forth with Susan Collins because there is some good she's done.
But look at
That's
her voting record.
That's another thing too. Is
I mean, when a Democrat's in office, she's voting 75%.
75% when during Obama's in 2013, 75% of his, and then
67% when Trump
was 67. The time she was with Trump, and then now that Biden's in office, she's back to 75% voting for the left's agenda again. I mean, it's sad that, I understand. I'm not originally from Maine. So when I moved here, everybody was like, "Oh, you flatlander," and I was like, "Dude, why don't you like me? Because I'm not from here." Then I seen how
Maine
people
is
have
very
taken,
territorial.
Well, no, when people have taken advantage of Maine for so long, and the good qualities of the good people, the hardworking ethics of the Maine people.
Oh, yes.
I wonder why the people call it flatlanders. I wouldn't want anybody. I'd blow the bridge. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because people have come here and done nothing but. The forever chemicals everywhere because the people lobbied and say, okay, this is okay.
That's been a big thing.
PF,
There's a lot of big
PFAS.
things in Maine that all could be changed if the government would stop being little wusses and stand up and say, hey, let's stop doing this to each other.
government.
I think a lot of the issue is the
Get
government.
out. Yeah,
No, I'm
get
saying,
it
but
out.
the government around here,
That
they're
needs to
all
be
they're all just
abolished.
saying, oh, it's okay. Let's push this. Let's have cops show up at your school board meetings if you stand up. That's not what government should be able to do.
No.
We
Not
shouldn't have
that
any
way.
government agency dealing with anything that has to do with food, education,
All
any
alphabet
kind of
agencies
living.
should be
like,
abolished.
Like,
All those alphabet teams.
you want to abolish something? Abolish the Federal Reserve.
Boom. That's right.
Bye-bye.
That's where you're a
Federal
slave.
Reserve Act of 1913.
You're a
1913
slave
with
from
Jackal
birth.
Island,
We should
Georgia.
go back to the gold standard. I think.
well,
I think we're far too long to go back to the gold standard.
I think
So
it's
then what
coming
do you
sooner
think?
than you think.
So do you? So we go crypto. Then
No.
Crypto's not backed by
Crypto's
anything.
not
though.
backed by anything.
That's
Listen here.
That's like a fiat currency.
Here you go.
Just
I'm
like
gonna sell you
our
1,000. I'm gonna sell you 1,000 Bitcoin.
$5.
$5.
But no, my point.
Yeah, I know your point is.
No, the
wh-
thing
wh-
is, the thing
where
is,
do we move forward with?
how
it
do we
now?
move forward? This is my view on it. Let's audit
The Federal
Fort
Reserve.
Knox. Where's the
Well,
gold?
see,
that's
that's-
where all the gold's supposed to be.
The gold's supposed
Yeah.
to be there, just like
It's
it was
not
supposed
going
to
to
be
be
Well,
there.
I was
in the basement of
who,
9/11.
who was it that somebody was just? There was a podcast I was just watching. They were talking about senators have the power to essentially audit.
They
the
probably do,
Federal
but
Reserve.
they don't.
Oh,
Yes.
They don't
Dan
do it.
Bongino. I think he
Yeah,
was
I
just
think- yeah,
talking
he was
about
talking
it.
about
Yeah.
I was talking about it. Thank
Western
you.
Central
I was like,
banks.
I know it was one of them.
Listen,
We gotta have
amazing
the
how
house,
we
I
keep
think.
going to war with anybody who has a problem with Western Central banks. Anybody that wants to go on their own standard. Russia right now, they have their own bank. It's backed by gold. China has their own stuff backed by gold. You know what I mean? It's all
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi.
He was killed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam
He was
Hussein.
killed.
With how much gold did they millions
Exactly.
Did they
It's
find?
all of the removal from the fiat currency, petrodollar, to this other currency.
Yeah,
And that's why
I
Bitcoin
really
is so
believe in my
big
heart of hearts that
in
that's not
Ukraine.
going to last much
Yeah.
longer. I
Well,
really
that's
don't.
because that's like the only thing that. Well, yeah.
I think.
All right, here's a question. Do you think that Susan Collins could be an instrumental tool to probably open up federal land for drilling? Is there any way she could be a part of that in this administration?
I don't
No.
think so.
Hell
I don't
no.
think she has the backbone.
No, she's gonna vote with Biden on
She's gonna vote
everything.
with
She
Biden.
ain't gonna push nothing like that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
She only pushes stuff like Suboxone, like her and Angus King. her and Angus King got together and they made things where you can get Suboxone at any
Now,
nurse
I'm
practitioner in the state can write.
I'm very, very big on treatment.
oh yeah, no,
myself.
I love treatment.
But I just want to clear
But
this
what-
up a
but
little
what they-
bit. But what happened with what you're talking about is the way that they went about.
They did it
pushing
sneaky.
it.
They did it sneaky. They did. They were going around. Her and Angus would show up to Milo, and they would talk to people out there about, oh yeah, you got all these people that have this problem. Let's make it where the nurse practitioners can
Right.
do this.
It was the way it was being sold to the addict.
Yeah.
Was the issue, or is what
It was
brought
pushed.
it was what brought this issue up.
Well, I mean, $11 a day the methadone clinic makes.
I think it's $12 a day.
Well, now it's 12. And well, also, I'm not trying to offend any Lynx drivers out there that drive every morning to the different programs all over the states. Now it's funded by us. the
Well, see, this
taxpayers.
is where I, as an addict,
Yeah, I'm a recovered addict. 16 years.
I believe if you are able to get your butt out of bed, go find that drug, you can get your butt out of bed and get your butt to that clinic.
Yeah. Oh no.
And I don't believe it should be at the taxpayer's expense.
with me, what I did, I don't know, a little bit of my background. I'm 16 years clean this past February.
Congratulations
And,
to all
Congratulations.
three of us.
I'm 6 years clean myself.
I did it using cannabis oil.
Okay.
Was what I did, dope sick for months. You know, I felt like it, but I got through it. And then we opened up a rehab here.
I like Kratom with
we
the
opened
high
up a rehab
tinctures.
here in Maine, using cannabis oils and Kratom. We threw the first Kratom festival in Maine in the United
Talk
States.
about that a little bit. That is an interesting
And
thing
it
that
was-
I think could.
Well, anything natural that
So-
has
so,
been pushed
uh,
down since
well,
right
here,
after
let me-
1913.
Let me ask you a few
You know what I mean?
questions
Around
about
that
this.
It's all
time.
been-
yeah.
So, when did you guys do this? So what was
2015, 2013 to 2016, and then
And-
we lost
and-
housing.
and what were you guys doing?
Well, we were taking people. I was having them. They were medical patients. They would grow their medicine with me. I had them. They were at my house on my couch.
Okay.
You know, they had their own room for a while, and they'd come. I'd take their phone. You know, they were. My brother was at 86 milligrams of methadone. I made him do it cold turkey. He didn't come.
Wow.
People were saying, "Oh, it'll kill you." No, it won't. And they said, and then we were using something non-toxic, non-lethal cannabis oils to battle it. When they wake up, I fed them cannabis-infused
Yeah.
food, cannabis-infused lunch, tincture at lunch, RSO at night. Because one of the biggest things coming off the pro, you can't sleep, you can't
Right.
eat. Well, guess what?
You eat cannabis, you're definitely
you
going to
eat.
eat.
You're gonna sleep. You eat enough cannabis oil, you're gonna wake up hungry.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you're feeding that body the nutrients it needs to get up. And then, don't sugarcoat it. For me, with the people that went through the program with me, I wouldn't allow them to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sit there and co-sign your BS check. It's
Okay.
not me. You know what I mean?
So you did this for a little while.
3 years.
How many people do you think
22 people went through the program.
22 people went through?
11 of them are still clean to this day.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Good job.
Congratulations.
More than
dude.
50%.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
So now
What-
you said
Congratulations.
something about you lost housing.
Lost housing.
What do you mean by you lost housing?
Once they found out what we were doing, the state stepped in and said, you can't be doing this as a rehab.
Exactly why we need to get rid of the government.
What?
Back to
Absolutely.
what we've been
Was-
talking about.
What was the reason? Zoning. They wanted me to be in a commercial zone because we were doing it in Lowell, Maine.
You got
And
to.
they didn't like the fact that
Okay.
we were out in the country getting people
That's
clean
like the
with
perfect
cannabis.
place to do it.
Well, there was, because you know what? You're not
away
going to have
from
no drug
everybody.
dealers out there driving by to bring
Now,
you something.
Right.
could you do like? Because I know in some states, because there still are some private bars in the United States. A lot of people don't know this.
Oh, yeah, South Carolina's a bunch of
You got to tell your
See, I'm
story about
allergic
the
to
page.
alcohol.
Well, no. I'm not saying open a bar, but what I'm saying is could you do something like that
Well, the thing
with
is,
what you were doing?
Not anymore. Now that they've given the cannabis industry over to the big conglomerates, you know what I mean? That's why
Right.
we fought against that's why I was running around here with a big giant 4-wheel drive van that said no on one all over the state, talking about and they were, you greedy caregiver, and I was like, no, I just don't want all these big conglomerates, we call them the marijuana mafia in our backyard. And now they've pretty much taken over the industry here in Maine. And, granted, we're making tax money on it. That's great. They were making tax money on it before when it was just strictly medical.
Right.
But the thing is, it's just like anything else. Once the government sees that you're using something that they can't have their dirty little hands in, they got to go against it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That's why
Abolish the government.
That's the difference between legalization and decriminalization.
Well, they should have decriminalized all across the board, and it's not even legalization;
Absolutely.
it's actually just restructured prohibition is what we have right now.
Right.
Yeah.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? You got to keep everything locked up, and it's amazing to me that you could have a store, any of the markets around here have a liquor store right in there. You know what I mean? Where you can have an aisle of all this pretty looking stuff, but you can't have anything that has cannabis oil. It's like, whoa, it's still like
Oh,
you
it's
got to
bad,
go.
man.
That's bad. You know what I mean? And I've never smoked a joint and went home and thought about,
Right.
I'm going to go beat somebody up.
Now
But
I
did drink
I
it.
understand because one thing I know signage is a little is part of the zoning.
Yeah.
You can't have too crazy of a sign. I don't know exactly what the
You can't do
guidelines are
anything
for
that
it.
looks childlike.
Right.
Anything that might entice a child to come in, try it.
Anything else that they can keep Bellows and the rest of them people over here at the State House
Yeah.
doing their, you know what I mean? And
Now-
what really
now,
made me
I guess
disgusted
what
about
I'm
the whole
getting
thing is
at
I watched
is-
the lobby. That's how I originally got into politics was the no on one fight. When I was going to the State House and watching the lobbyists that were just walking in, and as soon as they found out who I was, they couldn't stand me because I wasn't getting paid to go down there. I wasn't getting paid to help these addicts. I was doing it out of the kindness of my heart. You know what I mean? And they were getting paid $250,000, $300,000 to go go over to this one and talk about this one, and it was just like, God, you were 10 minutes ago, you were talking totally different. Then you're talking to that dirtbag, you know, and it's like, and I was calling them out and they couldn't stand it. Like if I walk to the State House right now and I go to any of the meetings, 2 or 3, and each one will remember me and they'll be like, oh,
This guy.
This guy.
This guy.
This guy.
I think
We're
I
in
speak
for a
the truth
long
in
one.
love. You know what I mean?
that's why.
I'm a Christian. A lot of people, but that I believe on that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to me, you got to be truthful. You got to be truthful with who you're talking to. You know, I've got a past, one heck of a past. You know what I mean? For the last 16 years, I've got a pretty good past. You know what I mean?
Well, see, that's one thing me and Jeremy have talked about is we all have a past. And,
Yeah.
and it's what you
We did a
do.
podcast about alcohol recovery and drug addiction.
Yeah, and it really is about what you do moving forward.
Yep.
It is.
I think the next thing that they should decriminalize is like psychedelic mushrooms for the vets.
Yeah.
Definitely.
PTSD.
Yes.
Definitely.
I kind
PTSD.
of like the idea of the mushrooms.
Listen, I've
Only
watched,
because
I've
it's
watched
natural.
it for a long
Right,
time.
it's natural, absolutely.
But
and
the
it
thing is,
helps.
the thing is, back in the days when they first made cannabis illegal, all that stuff wasn't illegal yet. It was
Right.
still legal. You know
I was
what I
going
mean?
to say,
Yeah.
back in the
Everything.
early 20s,
37
30s,
is
you
when
could
they made
buy
37 up until
morphine and
37.
heroin
I'm
over
pretty
the
sure
counter.
a state
Yeah.
has mushrooms legal right now. Isn't
I think it's Colorado.
Yeah, you can walk
Colorado.
into a straight
So does
dispensary. and
Oregon
get-
too. Ask Mike Tyson; he'll know.
I think.
He has a good podcast still, too,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
probably getting sued for it now that he beat up that guy. in the
But seriously,
airplane.
tell your.
Well, see, I actually was just reading something today. There's talk that there may have been a water bottle thrown at Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
So he may have not been just
No, they
beating
can't.
on this
They can't
guy,
mess with him.
so-
That's all good.
But I
It's
don't
all
know.
good.
We'll see.
I look at it this way. We're all.
I
we're
don't
all
know
different people.
who in the right mind would have. Why would you think to bother that? I wouldn't want to bother
Because
that
they
man.
could
but that's
sue him when he
just
hits
me. I don't know. I'd
It's
be
probably
more.
somebody from the government trying to mess with him because
Dude,
he's talking
dude.
about mushrooms all the time.
Probably.
Put it this way, I'd be afraid of getting like brain damage from his hit, dude.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how do you?
Non-aggression
Yeah, how do you mess with
principle.
Tyson?
I'm not throwing
not,
anything at
yeah.
anybody.
I'm not throwing anything at anybody.
No, I'm good.
If I do, I got
better run fast.
I got a really good reason.
So, but I don't know, man.
But as
But,
far as this protest this weekend, I know a lot of people. I've seen it in Maine. People come out sometimes. You know what I mean? Come out, get out there Friday and talk with us, and let's talk. If you have different views from me and my partner Nick here, bring them. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I always explain to. I would never want everyone to think the same because that's what makes this country great. Is we're all allowed to think separately, and at the end of the day, if we're all formed into being like, okay, if everyone wanted Trump, then we wouldn't be the country that we are now. We need that different opinion to where the thing is we can't sit down and have those conversations anymore.
It can't be
because the
silent.
second you say something that someone doesn't agree with, it's
shuts
not.
down.
It shuts down.
I
It's
didn't
not.
vote for Trump.
I didn't vote for Trump
I
either
thought-
time.
I
Joe
can't say
Jorgensen.
I
that.
did.
I
I voted
did.
for Joe Jorgensen.
You know
Bro,
what
I
mean?
was a Trump supporter
Well,
the day he came down the
Well,
escalator.
the whole thing is
That's
because
when
I
same
grew up
here.
in Connecticut, so Trump was just a rich guy who
He
to
used to
me,
be a Democrat too.
yeah, and he was a Democrat.
This is true.
Until he hung out with JFK Jr. for a while, but that's neither here nor there.
But see,
So,
I'll tell you why.
A lot of different things are happening when I was never able to vote because of my past history,
Right.
and then when I got to Maine, I was like, oh, I could vote.
It's like a whole new.
Yeah,
it's like
that's-
a whole new future.
It's a whole new
I
world.
can really vote. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's like my son's shirt. It's Maine the way it should be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a majority of it is. It is the way it should be.
Who was it
You know
that
what I mean?
said something along Maine is great and there's always these people that are trying to come and change
Well, as an
it.
outsider too.
Yeah, they
Lots of
all
people,
gotta change it.
I don't remember. I remember we were talking.
Might have been
someone.
Eric
I can't-
Briggy.
I
I'm
think
not-
that
we
might
had-
have been.
As an
Eric's
outsider
still
that
alive.
lived in the South, that everybody talks about that Southern hospitality, everybody down there. So the Southern hospitality don't exist. I'll tell you that right now. Now, when I moved to Maine, and you actually get to know people from Maine that are born here.
Oh,
That
hey,
Maine
neighbor.
that Maine hospitality is like no other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they'll give you the shirt off their back as long as you're willing to go work for it.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
but. As compared to that Southern hospitality where they're like, "Oh, bless your heart," you know what that means? They're calling you a dummy. It's pretty much what they. Oh, bless your heart.
That's why people that have moved from Maine to other states, it has always been like a running joke where if you move from Maine to another state,
You're coming back.
well,
It's like quicksand. Once you put one foot in, you're coming back.
You get the job though because people know that in Maine you have a work ethic.
You got to.
As
We gotta
opposed
stay
to
warm.
other
It's
states.
too cold. Yeah, I was gonna say you got
Well, you got
got
to work up here to be able to support yourself. You can't, as you know, someone that lived in the
Well,
South.
see, that's another thing
you
too.
could live off $300.
We're what number 2 or 3 highest taxed in this
We're the fourth.
country?
Get
Fourth,
rid
yeah,
of-
fourth.
that's why we need to get
Connecticut,
rid
I
of the
thought it was
government.
all-
I
Connecticut,
thought it was third for some reason, but
California,
I think Connecticut,
Rhode
New York,
Island,
right?
New York, and then here.
okay.
I think that's how it goes. I
Okay.
could be
Yeah,
mistaken.
it's definitely New York and Connecticut and California first 3.
Did you guys see what Rhode Island just did or are trying to do?
No.
They're trying to tax unvaccinated people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
$50
yeah.
a day.
Vaccinated,
Yeah,
$50
that
a
whole
day.
thing.
$50 a day. I did see that.
Coming from someone that's from Rhode Island, that's nuts. And I think they're actually huge in doing a huge protest on. I think it was
Constitutionally, I don't think it would.
Another quick
I
thing,
don't
real
think
quick
it would.
before we
They-
run out
they'd
of
rule it
time,
on constitutional.
about
I
Susan
think.
Collins. Back to Susan Collins.
But
There was
yeah,
a
we got to
thing-
start. So we got to start wrapping up here. So yeah,
there
let's
was a
jump
thing-
back
There
into.
was a thing a little bit about the $150,000 of some dark money that ended up coming through her coffers to a guy named Martin Koa. He's the owner of Nova Tech. He was arrested in October of 2020 for money laundering, for defrauding the PPP program that the same person he donated money to wrote. So
Susan was the writer of
was
it.
the writer of that. So, and he even made quotes to that. There had been senators that helped him along. well.
Wacky Collins.
And so, and there's a lot of questions to me as an American. I don't care what party line you're on, of where the money's coming from for all of them. From now
Transparency.
on, like I said earlier
Yeah.
in the podcast, we should have them wear,
NASCAR jackets.
NASCAR jackets on
With the-
who they're representing,
or their voting record.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Well, their voting records, it's actually kind of hard to find sometimes on how you
Yeah,
voted.
roll calls.
Yeah, roll calls. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just.
That's why I like. So Justin Amash was a libertarian. Well, he was a Republican, then independent, and then libertarian out of Michigan. And he used to just, and Thomas Massey actually, they used to, or he still puts on Twitter every time he votes, like why he votes the way he votes.
Margie Taylor Greene started
yeah.
doing roll call where she goes, and when they try to sneak in a vote, she literally goes in there and
Yeah,
makes
I
them.
watched,
her
thing
and
about
her,
They hate her for
They
it.
hate
Oh
her,
man,
yeah.
I love that woman. I
She
drove all the
was-
way to Connecticut to see her.
She
Oh,
she was like, if you really want to make people mad in DC,
Make them work.
do a roll call.
Thomas Massey was like the one representative that actually made all of the senators and House representatives come back to D.C. just to vote on the COVID relief fund, just so that
Yeah, they
got
were mad
just
about
so
that. I
that they
remember that.
actually had all the votes down and who voted for what.
That's where the enemy of the people is.
Yeah.
DC.
Yep.
That's where our biggest problem is. It's,
Uh,
it's not Russia.
That's
it's
why
not
I
China.
think they say what the 75% of all the richest people are within like 6 mile radius of
I was
Washington
going to say
D.C.
4,
Chi-
4 mile radius.
China didn't have any billionaires until 1952 or 1972 when we got off the gold standard, and all of a sudden started allowing them to start selling their products to us.
You mean when we got off
And
the
then we
gold
went over
standard
there
and went
and
to the
started
Federal
bringing-
Reserve?
Now they have 111 billionaires, and 109 of them are on their parliament, or whatever it's called. You know what I mean?
The only
Yeah.
pushback
Sad.
I have with it is I don't like how we have to jump onto the global warming train and
Oh, there ain't no
China
global-
doesn't.
Dude,
There'll
I
always
got a question
be
for all of them.
global
If there's
warming
global
to
warming,
some
then why do they all live on the coast? Why does Obama have a place
Well,
in Martha's Vineyard?
One
Well,
thing
there's
that,
always-
Why did Bill Gates just
there's-
spend another $40
I wouldn't say it's
billion
global
together?
warming, but there's definitely climate change.
Oh, there's
now,
always gonna be
the
climate
difference
change.
is what percentage of climate change is man-made, and like what, if anything, can we do to either stop it or reverse it?
But at the same time, if we're putting all these regulations on our businesses and sending them overseas, and we're the only country doing all this to try to help the environment, and
Oh, yeah. It's
meanwhile
not gonna
China
work.
and all these other countries are dumping all these fumes, and guess what? That's blowing right
Well, they're
to
gonna
us
they're
or
all
in
gonna
our
crash- they're
ocean.
all gonna
Yeah.
crash-
You know,
they're trying
it's
to
not
crash
going to
us.
matter anyway.
Our
So all we're
economy
doing is
all
hurting the
around.
American people, hurting American jobs, and
Absolutely.
killing our economy.
well,
I
I was looking into
GDP.
an electric vehicle, and
Oh my God.
after watching the documentaries on the lithium mines,
Yeah,
Get
it's
you a
pretty sad
diesel.
stuff, dude.
I don't know if I want. I
It's
mean,
pretty sad stuff. And I wonder what they do with
I
it
don't
after
know.
the batteries go bad. I mean, what do they do with all
That's-
that then? I mean,
And then look at the Keystone
if it's,
Pipeline.
if it's not, there's a couple ways they recycle it, but if
Yeah.
it's not recycled correctly, it becomes fill and
yeah,
can
kind of like the big
potentially contaminate.
Now, I have 16 solar panels on my house. So I like the idea of solar because it's literally, energy from the sun.
Yeah.
But it's definitely far, far away to have the country running on.
That's a little different than lithium batteries.
we have
though.
a lot.
right.
Of,
Yeah,
we have-
Like if-
definitely.
everything was hydro years ago.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think we
had to
need
get
more
off hydro
nuclear
because
power.
of
Well,
fish.
look at the
New
pipeline.
nuclear.
Look at the pipeline in
Yeah, the
Alaska
fission-
that shut down.
fission.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's what it
It's
is.
not- it's-
The
it's-
fis-
it's opposite
fission
fusion,
nu-
it's fission.
Yeah, fission.
Right,
It
fission.
breaks it together.
Yeah.
The guys that ran that pipeline
Interesting.
said that they could break that pipeline down in a season, have it all down, and it would not affect anything with the nature in 6 months, and
Wow.
still pump all that oil, and it would look just like it did when they came in there, compared to when you are
I
mining
don't know
all
about
this
exactly.
Yeah.
but-
lithium. Well, no, I mean it's not. Well,
no, I know what you mean.
You
Yeah,
know
but
what I'm saying,
mining
where-
lithium is really bad for the
yeah,
for the
it-
environment.
Everything.
well, the
Yeah.
dust, a lot of the open pits, the dust is what causes a lot of problems for people there.
For the kids that are burning it,
The water method take
it's like fracking.
It's not
they
even
pump it up.
It's a
it's like-
finite
water.
resource.
yeah.
So why are we dumping all this money into finite resources? We're trying to get away from fossil
And-
fuels, which is a finite resource.
Another thing
but
with
we're
the
going
lithium
into
China
another finite resource.
And the rest of the, if you look,
Well,
if
see,
you really
this is the
follow
thing.
Elon Money's money,
Well,
Elon's
well,
money,
well, this is-
it's all
this-
going back to China.
This
80%.
is the interesting thing is with the lithium, China is the only place that makes the battery and deals with making the lithium.
Listen, guess where else?
So
You
I
can get
guess
lithium in
when you
Ukraine.
can put those together, that's how you drop the price.
You know where they're going to be looking to get most of their lithium next? A little place called Afghanistan. We just gave them, we didn't, that resident in office gave them Afghanistan, which is 400 miles from China, which we gave them a beautiful, beautiful Bagram Air Force Base where they could fly all this,
Yeah.
right?
No,
we
you're right,
left
you're
all
right.
of our
Well,
stuff
listen,
there.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. It was after 2000. It was September 11th, 2001, when they made the Patriot Act. When Jeb Bush was down in Florida, would not regulate the pills. At the same time, his brother was sending all my friends over to Afghanistan to fight and to guard
Yeah,
the poppy
there's
field.
some
Yep.
stuff
When
that
we got
was
out of
in
there,
the emails
2002,
about
the
that.
poppy production went up 95% in Afghanistan
And
because they
there-
needed poppy. They needed
there
opium
was
to
some
make their
stories
pills
with
out
some,
of Florida.
Yeah, there
Of
was,
course.
there was some
to start the heroin
C-130s. Yep, there was some
epidemic we have now.
C-130s that
The
was,
biggest
there was a story
drug
done
war
about
has
it.
I wanna
happened
know-
because of the government.
The government's caused it. I want to know what they were given at Bush Sr.'s funeral.
well, that's why.
The golden ticket. I want to know what was on that golden ticket. You know
Well,
what I mean?
you're talking about the drug war, but that's why it cost how much for insulin, but yet you got every single police officer in about every state that now carries Narcan
Right.
for free, so I can get all doped up and pass
Well,
out.
that's- wow.
No, I don't mean it in a mean way.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying
I know what
because
you mean.
it's not fair to someone that has diabetes that
Right,
that,
no,
that's
I
not
agree with
something
you
they
there.
can
That's- no,
control.
you're completely
and,
right.
And they go broke buying this insulin.
Yeah,
You're
we
completely
definitely
right.
need patent reform.
And it's not to the point to where
That's what it is right there, patent
If
reform.
you set the FDA, food over here and the drugs over here, and change the administration,
What-
a lot of
get
things
the
will change.
government
Why
out of
they're
it.
Eat
even
right and
one-
change your blood sugar fat. They don't talk to you about that. You can eat right to get rid of your gout. You can eat right to do a lot of things. You can eat right not to get cancer. You know what I mean?
No, that's what
all
it
these
is. It's
different-
life
the red
choices.
dyes, the 5 dyes, the yellow, all that stuff. If you really look at it, causes kidney and bladder cancer and throat cancers. It's in everything. Pick up
Yeah.
Sunny D,
According
it's
to a
in there.
California study.
Yeah. I wonder if Newsom was behind that
Hey,
stuff.
anytime something is fact checked, you know it's true.
Right,
All right. So I love this conversation.
Yeah, it
should
was
have
good.
We should pick it up sometime, but we're
Running
On
out of
wrapping
time
up
here.
time.
So, let's get into where can people find out more information about your guys' protest.
You can find us on pwa1776.info. That's our website. We also got social media platforms on pretty much everything. We will be having one on True Social soon.
I'm not on anything because I got canceled.
you got sucked.
I got zuckered.
Are you?
I didn't. Hold on.
Well, definitely thank you for contacting us
Yeah.
and coming on. It was definitely an interesting chat.
That was a great chat.
Yeah, I thought it went great. Yeah.
Like I
As
said,
libertarian, anyway.
you guys cleared up a few misconceptions that were out there that I had from, like I said, the media. Mainstream media doesn't do you guys justice. I guess
Mainstream
they don't
Fake news.
report
News bought
all
and paid
of
for.
yeah they don't report all of it. And
Was it
I've-
MNDNC?
I've
and the Clinton
fallen
News Network?
I've fallen
CNN
victim to
Plus
that a
got
couple
canceled
times.
within
Oh,
2
canceled,
weeks.
do you think?
Oh, yeah,
and
it
then,
was
and
less
then
than a
Stelter's
month.
sitting there going, well, I don't know if
And
it's
you know
a
why?
failure.
Well, I guess they
Because
had
a
to
podcast like this
Yeah.
and all the digital warriors now that push out the truth, and that's what people are wanting to hear. More people are tuning in a small independent podcast like this than tuning into CNN and getting fed all that propaganda.
Well, see,
Alternate media and
and
not
that's-
mainstream media is
and-
where things are at now.
and
it's
that's
gonna
one
stay.
thing that me and Jeremy are willing to do. Even if we disagree with you, we will have you on.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't know what to expect coming on today, but I think you guys are great. So
I appreciate it.
We,
Appreciate it.
uh,
I heard some stuff before. Obviously, read papers and heard, "Oh my God, Nick Blanchard, world's on
Corn
fire.
pop.
He's horrible." Corn pop. But
He was a bad dude. Ran a bunch of
So-
bad guys.
so don't believe all the hype from the paper rags.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely. And so thank you guys for coming out to All Sides of Kennebec. I'm your host, Sean.
And I'm Jeremy.
And until 8 o'clock, we're
Right,
going
we'll
to
see you guys
yeah,
back in
we'll
20 minutes.
Where we go one, we go all.
See you at 8.